this really has been a journey for you personally, right? Like from when you first started doing this, when you first got that first audition to now, let's go right back to the beginning. Where were you when you found out about this part?
Yeah, I was actually I was in my dining room, eating dinner with my parents actually. And then I got this phone call and I kind of knew it was from my agent. I kind of knew roughly what it might be about. It was either a yes or a no. So I thought, okay, this could either be a very, very, very good phone call or a very bad one. So I'm going to go upstairs. Don't want my parents to see this, because otherwise it could get messy, you know. So I went upstairs. You know, my agent was so excited. You know, she was so happy that they'd offered me the role, and you know, I was obviously like just buzzing and just trying to contain my excitement to the point that I went back downstairs. I was thinking I'll try and play it cool. I could try and do something kind of funny here, kind of cool. I went downstairs and then just sat back down at the table and kept on eating. And my parents had obviously realized what might have been going on. So then they probably thought I'd, you know, didn't get it and was just trying to forget about it and not talk about it. So they were just like, was that okay? How was the phone call? And I was just like, oh yeah, it's fine. I'm just going to be in a Netflix show. And literally, I mean, my parents loved it. I thought I played it very cool, but I'm also told by my parents that, to be honest, they could kind of tell. So I you know, I'm not that good of an actor to be able to hide that much excitement. Kind of thing.
If it isn't Charlie Spring, Happy New Year. You're over there, next to Nicholas Nelson.
You then find out that your on-screen mum is going to be Olivia Coleman, and you don't get more experience than like an Oscar winner Olivia Coleman, really. Yeah. What was some of those moments on set with her where you were like, pinch me, I can't believe this is actually happening?
I mean, honestly, like even just finding out that we were going to be like that she was going to be playing my mum was incredible, because I didn't even know, like we didn't know until maybe 2-3 weeks before, and then suddenly it was like, oh my Lord, you know, Olivia Coleman. There was always a question mark around who was going to play my mum, and suddenly, yeah, we got the news. But I mean, working with her, we spent 2 days filming with her, because she's, you know, she's a very, very, very busy woman in the industry. I think probably the biggest pinch me moment for me, there was this scene where I essentially sort of discussed my sexuality with her at the end of the show, and it was so unbelievable because we sort of read through it the first time, and more like, you know, normally when you read it through the first time, you sort of go maybe 50%. You don't go the full sort of, you know, how you're going to do it when you're actually filming. And then suddenly like a tear was rolling down her face, like as we were just reading through the lines. So I was thinking, oh my God, like this is, how am I gonna compete with this? How am I gonna act alongside this absolute, you know, I mean, honestly, I don't even know how to explain how talented she is and how skillful she is. But I was just thinking at that point, like, okay, I really need to step up my game here, because otherwise I'm going to be shown up very, very quickly.
That relationship also goes right through. And then on the flip side of that, you have Joe, who's literally doing like pretty much his first ever on-screen acting job. And it's so palpable, the amazing friendship that you've obviously built with him on screen and off screen. And it's so amazing to see that kind of chemistry on screen and have that level of friendship and trust shown in that way. How do you think you have leaned on one another during the process, and then also in the reaction as well? Because that must be surreal when your whole life just changes.
Joe and I are very close to the point that we can just sort of take the mick out of each other, and we're very comfortable with each other. So a lot of the time we will just sort of just be hurling these like stupid insults at each other. And I think it's really good, to be honest, because it does just sort of, if we're doing something that's brand new, that we're not used to, that is a little bit daunting, it's good to have us, because we could just, you know, start taking the mick out of each other, and it would just diffuse the tension completely, and we just feel a bit more at ease. But then also, I think, you know, the show coming out and having the reaction that it's had, I think that we've sort of lent on each other a lot more, because, you know, there'll be certain things that happen that, you know, we weren't expecting to happen, and we can sort of discuss them with one another and work out how each other can handle them. You know, like for example, being recognized in the street, you know, it's something, it's very helpful to have another person who's your age, who's also just starting to go through these experiences, because you can just sort of discuss it. So I think, yeah, I mean, having Joe, you know, by my side has been extraordinarily useful and helpful. Yeah, and has made me feel a lot sort of more comfortable about the whole process, I think.
And I guess it also helps because the fandom for the show is insanity. Like I was looking on Twitter and it's honestly crazy. It's like up there with the Bridgerton level of people who just go absolutely thirsty for it. And then sadly on the flip side, you then have the trolls that come into it as well. What's that been like to deal with that kind of external criticism?
I mean, I think that for the most part, I have to say, for the most part, the reaction to Heartstopper has been very positive, like overwhelmingly positive, really. And throughout the whole process, the diehard Heartstopper fans have been, you know, following us, you know, from the beginning to the end, and it's been wonderful. And they've been so supportive, and they were just so excited for it to come out. But yeah, so I think that's amazing. I mean, obviously every so often there are definitely a few sort of, you know, trolls who will make comments and things like that. And I think that the danger of that is that for every 9 amazing comments, you get one sort of slightly mean one, and you do tend to focus a little bit more on the mean one. So I think, again, that's been helpful to have Joe there, because Joe's been going through the exact same thing.
Yeah, and I think it's very powerful what you put on Twitter the other day, actually, where you said apparently some people on here know my sexuality better than I do, because I just don't think that anyone on this planet has a right to anyone's identity in any level. And I think that was such a powerful statement to put out there.
I think it's something that's very important to sort of make people aware of, because I think especially with a show like Heartstopper, one thing that I have found sort of difficult to like understand as well, sort of certain comments made about Joe and his appearance and things like that. I think that I don't understand how you could watch a show like Heartstopper, which is just so joy filled and sort of positive and just warm, and then come out of it after enjoying it, and then come out of it and say something so sort of, I don't know, just mean. And I think you know, with in regards to my tweet, you know, we're still all so young, and to start sort of speculating about our sexualities and maybe pressuring us to come out, you know, when maybe we're not ready. I mean, for me, I just feel like I'm perfectly, you know, confident and comfortable in my sexuality, but I don't feel the need to really, you know, I'm not too big on labels and things like that. I'm not massive about that, and I don't feel like I need to label myself, especially not publicly. But I do find it, to be honest, that tweet was sort of slightly calling them out, but it was also just like, I honestly found it a little bit funny how they had they just make assumptions about you know, it's 2022. It feels a bit strange to make assumptions about a person's sexuality just based on, you know, hearing their voice or seeing their appearance, or, you know, I feel like that's a very interesting, slightly problematic sort of assumption to make.
Oh my God, 100%. And like you were saying, focus on the joy of it, because there is so many pockets of joy. And like we said at the top of the podcast, like this is for everyone. This isn't just an LGBTQIA plus show. This is for everyone, any age. Like everyone can relate to it at certain points. And I think that's what's so special about it. And that's why there's so many scenes that people have become so obsessed with as well. For you, kind of off screen, what were the kind of moments that you'll really cherish and remember and hold with you, the laugh out loud moments? What were those for you?
Yeah, there was one time where we were just sitting in, I think it was Will's dressing room, and we were all given a speaker at the beginning of shooting, and he just started playing some songs on the speaker, and we'd all ordered some pizzas in. We were all just sitting on the floor, just talking and listening to music and eating. And sounds very simple, but it was just really nice. You know, it was just a nice time. We just all sort of enjoyed each other's company.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes across so well on screen as well, that camaraderie, that friendship, and that community. And I guess the whole purpose of the show in a way is they're all individually trying to figure out not only who they are, but who their group are, who their people are. And I think everyone goes through that at some point in their lives. When you think about that concept in itself, what does that make you reflect back on your own experiences of like navigating friendships and finding your people, your community in a way?
I think that that's a very sort of important thing for a lot of people to go through. Is sort of sometimes it's important to make friends that maybe aren't the best, because it kind of teaches you about making friends and about like kind of learning, who you should be spending your time with. I mean, bear in mind, so I was a child actor. By the time I was in secondary school, I had done a couple of films and I'd done a couple of TV shows and things like that. So I wasn't, particularly well known, but I was known in my school as like the actor to an extent. And I do think that at times I definitely attracted people as like friends who maybe weren't with me, like sort of hanging out with me for all the right reasons. And I think that was a very important thing for me to learn and understand.
And I think the show achieves so much on so many levels. And I think you must be so proud about the conversations it's starting as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
For you, what is the thing you're proudest of achieving with this show?
I mean, I think that I've got to say, like, there's not much debate. There was one Heartstopper fan who tweeted out that that they had shown the scene in which I sort of come out to my mum in the show, and they'd shown that to their parents, and then used that to come out to their parents. And I found that so, I honestly felt quite emotional about it, because it was just like, as an 18-year-old actor, I've been given the opportunity to like have that kind of effect on someone's life is a massive honor that I will never ever take for granted, honestly, and I'll never forget being given this opportunity. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, when I saw that tweet, I was just like, this show has done exactly what we wanted it to do. Because that is what we had hoped. We hoped that it would empower people and give people the confidence in themselves and help them sort of love themselves. And I think that's even just achieving that to any kind of extent is wonderful. So the fact that we were able to do that is, yeah.
Do you think it's given you a new level of confidence and sort of self-love in yourself as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that the nature of seeing so many queer people just so proudly themselves and so proud to be themselves is one of the most honestly empowering things. And I think there's a moment in the show where you see Tara and Darcy at the party, they kiss in front of everyone. There's a shot of me sort of seeing that, and the whole idea is that it's Nick's sort of first time seeing queer people being happy in front of other people. And for me, honestly, when I saw that in real life, it was just one of the most breathtaking things I've ever seen, because the lights, and it was like the crowd sort of parted. And it was just, it was honestly like, it's so cinematic in the show, but it was almost more cinematic in real life. It was such a spectacle. And I think that's a perfect example of, seeing just the beauty and pride of queerness. And I think that's, I think that's enough to give, anyone confidence to be themselves. I think it's wonderful.
100%. That's the power of it. That's the power of representation.
Exactly.
Right there. For anyone from any community to see that, it's going to empower other people too. And I think people are quite blind to that sometimes. So I think that's such an amazing way of putting it.